The definition of smart differs from place to place. I mean, depends on, you need to find exactly what are your core competencies, what are your core pains that you need to address, and based on that you can define what smartness means. From my previous experience with Cisco, everybody defined it differently. Barcelona was focused on intelligent urbanization, Hamburg was focusing on becoming the smartest port, and so on and so forth. In Illinois, it goes back to the business objective of the governor, is he wants to be a compassionate and competitive government. And where does that come from? Competitiveness comes from economic growth, from government efficiency, and compassionate comes from providing better services to people who need services from the government. So when we say smarter Illinois, again, it goes back to the governor's goal of becoming competitive and compassionate. And how do we apply the principles of smart cities and smart solutions into a state, at the state level, to make the government, make the region, make the state smarter. Well, I go back to Chicago, first of all, where we started the Smart Chicago initiative, where we looked at transportation, public safety, health, and everything else, education, and said, what's the common platform that connects all of these things? Obviously, technology becomes the common platform that connects all of these things. So we brought that. We also looked at the use of broadband and the power of broadband, that on impact on economic growth as well as personal, individual growth, creating opportunities. And then when I worked with Cisco, it's the idea of taking technology and applying it to government for making the government efficient and effective, but also taking those same principles and applying it to economic growth. And I saw that firsthand happening in Barcelona, in Rio, in Dubai, and in Copenhagen and Hamburg, and Chicago even. So when I started with the state government, I realized that state is actually a kind of a superset of multiple cities, where you have cities like Chicago who are ripe for smart cities solutions, but then you also have cities like Peoria and Rockford and Sandwich, Illinois, which you cannot apply those smart city solutions to them, but we still had to become smarter in order to become efficient and also in order to start focusing on economic growth. So basically what I did was I compared and contrasted between a city and a state, and I realized that we can actually lift the smart city solutions and apply them as is to a state, because we have transportation, we have public safety, we have public health, we have corrections. All of the solutions that are built for smart cities are directly applicable to smart state. And as I thought more, I found that we can play three distinct roles which are interconnected in making state as a platform for smart cities while becoming smarter. So the first one was applying solution, and that's basically state as a customer. The second one is we have the policy and regulatory powers to start actually enabling smart city businesses, IoT businesses in the state. So looking at investment, looking at investing in incubation, incubators, innovation centers, also focusing on talent. How do we will need that next generation talent in our state? So how do we start focusing on IoT, cybersecurity, mobility, analytics, and so on and so forth. So we also work, and again, it's not all driven by the Department of Innovation and Technology. We partner with our Secretary of Education, Beth Purvis, who's fantastic. Partner in that in education. She works with us. Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity focuses on the economic growth and incubation and innovation. So through the governor, we all work together in this area. So that's what we call the government as an enabler. But then what happens to Sandwich, Illinois? What happens to Rockford? What happens to Peoria, Mahomet, Illinois? And that's where the state as the demand aggregator comes in, and that's where we use the fiber as the platform. We use the joint purchasing process, the joint procurement process as a platform. So we are looking at kind of building that those state level contracts that all of the governments can buy off of, creating the economy of scale for smaller cities. In terms of technology, there are multiple solutions out there. I think what's on the horizon is how are you going to implement these solutions in a way that you're not creating more silos, because we government are paired with tremendous silos, and we cannot afford those things going forward, because in IoT, especially in the Internet of Things, the solutions that are applicable to smart state and smart cities, it's very easy to get siloed even further, and then you're creating a security risk. You also need to be very cognizant of the citizen privacy and their data, and how we're going to secure that information. So basically, in order for a successful becoming a smart state in a successful manner, you need to think through as a comprehensive, as an organization, as a whole, as opposed to individual silos, and have your security team work with you at the very onset. So one of the things that I've been always speaking with the supplier community or the partners in the private sector is work with us, work through the Central Innovation and Technology Department, and we go and advocate the solutions to the business, but then as it comes to implementation, let's work together so we don't end up creating multiple silos. So I think that's the one. In terms of the entire ecosystem around smart cities and smart state, I see the service providers stepping up even further. So that'll be good to scale these solutions. I also see the neutral systems integrators coming to the party, where they can start giving us neutral strategies as opposed to a solution provider giving us strategy. So I see those kind of things now picking up very quickly. So in general, what we have done is whenever technology budget is requested, it's always requested in conjunction of what's the business impact in this. So we want to, for example, do something for our business community and make it easier to do business in the state. I will not go and ask for technology money. I would rather partner with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. It is because they are the business owners in that area, and they will together will go and ask for budget. For smarter state initiatives, there are multiple grants that we can draw from the federal government, which is for Health and Human Services, or for the Homeland Security and Department of Justice, that can be used for the public safety technology perspective. So we always are looking out for those grants that we can utilize. And then the third area that we always look for is public-private partnerships. So we are starting to look for the business models where we can have the private sector provider come in and give us options. Those are kind of the RFPs. That to me is on the horizon for not just the state of Illinois, but majority of the government that wants to do these kind of heavy capital financing projects. So one of the biggest challenges is silos, and we are trying to bust those silos. We have an IoT Center of Excellence where we have brought 11 different agencies together, which are working on various Internet of Things and smart state projects, not just their CIOs, but also the business owners. We have the Chief Information Security Officer part of that team, so looking at security, because that's the second challenge that we are looking at. We have the General Counsel, for not just one department, but for some other departments. They are looking at the policy and regulatory bottlenecks that we might hit going forward. That's the third challenge that we need to look for. And then just how can the ecosystem, not just the internal to the city or the state, but outside, how can the ecosystem work together as partners? That's the fourth one. And I've seen tremendous progress, at least in the state of Illinois, in all of these four areas. And I think we are on our way to becoming one of the first smarter states in the country.